Good evening, everyone. Oops, this is really. We have to find a way to make this work. Okay, good. Good evening again. So, every second Monday of the month, we have our meetings in English. And tonight, after a long winter, Hendrick is back. So he will talk to us tonight about chapter 10 of the Gospel according to Spiritism. Some items there, 14 and 15. But before that, Nancy will come here. She will bring a message to us from the book Our Daily Bread. And then, but before that, we're going to do a prayer so that we can be more connected to God, more connected to the good spirits. And if you want, you can close your eyes so that we can together think about God, think about our dear friend Jesus, and say, Dear Master, dear friend, dear brother Jesus, once again, we are here at our little spot of light, our Cantinho de Luz, together around your message of love, of compassion, of forgiveness, and charity. We would like to thank you for being there for us at all times, giving us the hope and the strength so that we can face our daily problems, our daily struggles, because we know that we have you on our side. So tonight, may your blessings fill our minds, our hearts, so that we can share your love wherever we are, whatever we speak, to whomever we find on our way. And it's with our hearts full of gratitude and full of joy that we praise your love for all of us and ask you to be with us not only now, but always and always. So be it. So as I said, let's invite Nancy. She will talk to us a little bit, and then right after that, we will have Hendrick here talking to us about the Gospel according to Spiritism. Nancy.
Good evening, everyone. I made some copies just in case you guys wanna follow. All right, I'm back. So tonight the message is from the book Our Daily Bread, chapter 138, and the title is Let Us Analyze This. For Christ did not send me to baptize, but to preach the gospel, not with words of human wisdom, lest the cross of Christ be emptied of its power. It is Paul, Corinthians 1:17. Generally speaking, while we are incarnate, we take great pride in attracting as many people as possible to our way of thinking. Invariably, we are good speakers and eminently thorough in presenting reasoning that overwhelms the point of view of those that cannot comprehend the immediacy of the struggle. On the first small triumph, we become wearisome researching holy books, not in order to acquire a more vast illumination, but rather with the objective of investigating the writings of the divine scriptures, seeking to accentuate the vulnerable affirmations of our opponents. If we are Roman Catholics, we insist that our friends go to Mass and take the sacraments. If we are adepts of the Reformed Church, we insist on their appearance at the external worship. And if we are Spiritists, we seek to multiply the number of Spiritist sessions we have with the invisible plan. This effort is not less commendable in some of its characteristics. However, it is imperative to remember that the student of the Gospel who sincerely tries to understand the Christ feels invigorated in his intimate conduct. When Jesus penetrates the heart of an individual, he converts him into a living testimony of righteousness and directs him to evangelize his brothers with his own life. When an individual finds Jesus, he does not stop short purely and simply pronouncing brilliant words. Rather, he lives in accordance with the Master, exemplifying the work and the love that illuminate life, so that glory of the cross shall not be in vain. I have some comments. So, in in my opinion, I think this message is talking about respect, not just respect in general, but specifically respect about other people' religion choice. Like it says here, sometimes we want to attract people to come to follow our religion. There is nothing wrong if I invite somebody to come to my church, my spirit center. There is no problem with this. But we have to think about it before. If we notice that there is something in that person that could match our religion, we feel free and invite. And in this message, it says if we are Catholics, we insist that our friends go to the Mass every Sunday. If we are, here he said Reformed Church, it could be evangelical. We think people have to go to the church every single day, no matter what. So, if I want human being become a better people, I should be a good example to them, not just with my words, but with my actions. We have to try to be a good example, be a living testimony of righteousness. The last paragraph it says, when an individual finds Jesus, he or she lives in accordance with the Master, exemplifying the work and the love that illuminate life. And to wrap it up, I have few sentences that I really like it, and I think they express exactly what this message is telling us. The first one: words are from the lips, actions are from the heart. Who said that was Rashida? She's a writer. There is another one, it's very short. I like this one. Actions speak louder than words. Another one from the Shane. This guy is a social justice advocate speaker and sociologist, I think. If your actions don't live up to your words, you have nothing to say. And the last one. This is from Benjamin Franklin. Well done is better than well said. So that's it, what I understood from this message. I hope you guys like it too. Thank you.
Good evening. Let's see if we can fix this. There we go. Sound better? Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Nancy, for your words. Um, wanted to thank you for the opportunity to be here as well, and thank you, everyone, for coming. It's so our conversation tonight, as Mackenzie said, is from the chapter 10 of Gospel according to Spiritism. It's the chapter that says, "Blessed are the merciful." Um, these chapters of the Gospel according to Spiritism are the ones where are the Beatitudes. Blessed are the merciful is one of them, and as the title would suggest, it's all about having mercy, showing mercy, and being shown mercy, or forgiveness or pardonness, as the translation from the English, from the British English, that I read says. So the title is uh, the forgiveness of offenses, and this is in the chapter, in the section of the chapter that talks that where the it's called the instructions from the spirits, and essentially letters that were written or messages that were given uh, to to Kardec and to the mediums, during the evolution of the this book, the compilation of the messages. And these are specific messages pointed towards the Spiritists, right? We who are trying to study, trying to better ourselves through the study of Spiritism, and through the study of the knowledge that was given to us by the Spirit. So, as the message before that Nancy was saying, it suggests that um, as religious people, we tend to want to have more of the religion, but really the focus is on what we do and not what we say, or not what we try to get others to do. And so the main topic of tonight is one of those very important ones: is forgiveness of the offenses. And so, um, in looking at the different spiritist philosophers or presenters, I was reading and listening to Alberto Almeida, who um, pointed out a very interesting view of the word of the role of forgiveness in our lives. And as he says, and I thought that was very interesting. Forgiving is essentially a constant demand in our lives. We are compelled to be constantly forgiving throughout our daily, really day to day lives. It's not something that just happens to happen once in a while. Most days, it turns out that we have many reasons to forgive, or many opportunities to forgive those around us, but also ourselves. And so, um, in this general idea that it is part of our lives, we go back to when Jesus was asked um, about forgiveness. How many times who should I forgive? How many times should I forgive? And Jesus, uh, famously, I think most people who have studied a little bit of the Bible or studied a little bit of the Christian message knows Jesus is saying about 70. Do not you should not forgive 7 times, but 70 times 7 times. And there are a lot of um, conversations that I've been a part of, and lots of lectures that I've been a part of, where that number gets broken down, and what does that number really mean, and did Jesus really mean a number when he said 70 times 7 times? So 70 times 7 times would be 490 times, which still is a lot of times to forgive. But if you really understand the message, you understand that it's like it was meant to be a number that's just unattainable for every fault that anybody commits against you. It's give yourself 490 times chances to think about it and forgive those who do unpleasant things to you, um, and do that 470 times 7 times every time they do something towards you, and not keep yourself tied with anger and really evil thinking towards that person, right? So being a part of our everyday lives, just like anything else that's part of our everyday lives, it's important that we practice it. All right, it's important that we understand, with our just basic understanding of health and science, that exercise, for example, is important, very important for our healths, right? And so, you know, when we get conscious about the fact that I need to keep taking care of my body, I need to, in order to live a good, healthy, productive, and long life, right? I need to exercise, and so exercise of my body is a demand that I have every day. It's important for life. It's important for life in this in for me to have a long, healthy life, right? So in the same way, um, thinking of forgiveness, thinking of all of these aspects of love, which we'll get to, the forgiveness as one aspect of love, it's important that we exercise it, right? And that we are given that we give ourselves the opportunity to stop and continuously um, exercise the muscles of forgiveness, just like I go, to the gym, or I run, or I walk, or I do crunches, or, um, you know, it's important that for me to be able to do anything big, right, I need to start small, right? So if I want to lift 300 pounds, right, I'm not going to just one day wake up and go to the gym and say, oh, I'm going to lift 300 pounds, right? I need to actually start going, and every day or every other day, start working on some muscles, and then start working on the secondary muscles, and just keep working at it. And I will go from 40 to 50 to 80 to 150. And if I really dedicate myself, I will get there to lift, to bench press 300, for example, right? Whatever the limitations of our bodies may be, something that other regular human beings with some training can do, I can accept that. Generally, I will be able to. And so, and that's the same with forgiveness, right? When we think about forgiveness, or when we think about people who can really cause something to hurt us, and that we would think um, would be hard to forgive, we face that situation just like you would face, you know, a 300-pound weight at the gym, or a marathon, if you want into running, right? I, you can't run a marathon, that's okay. I'm sure you can walk a mile, right? and try walking 2 miles, and then try starting to run the first mile and walk the second mile. And so um, the same way is with forgiveness, right? I think throughout our lives, we all have we all experience unpleasant moments, and to various degrees of hurt to our hearts or to ourselves. That are very that can be really a drag on our day to day lives, right? But and so a lot we hear a lot the situation or the saying that people say, well, I will I will never forgive that person, right? I will never let that go. That person really hurt me. It was, I trusted them. They broke my trust. I will never hurt them. And that, again, it's kind of the reaction that I would be if I tried to say I'm going to run a marathon tomorrow. Well, I'm going to die on the third mile, right? Maybe the fifth. But at some point, I will not be able to finish 26 miles because that I am just not prepared for it. So just like so, this situations where somebody have hurt us so deeply, excuse me, um, that makes it look like it's that big weight that we can't lift or that big distance that we can't run. We can start by trying out smaller steps. Right? We can start by flexing our forgiveness muscles, if you will. Right. So thinking about forgiveness, you know, and as he suggested, as Albert suggested, start by focusing and really thinking about the work that we can do in terms of small steps, right? Small things that hurt, that annoy us, or small things that hurt us. Um, I got angry. Well, let me give it 5 minutes before I show that I'm angry. And if the 5 minutes wasn't enough, let me give it 10 minutes. And undoubtedly, giving that extra amount of time, giving that extra breathing time, giving that extra just the time for things to settle, my reaction or my interaction with that person will already be different, right? And so, um, again, just like any exercise, if we work slowly, we um, we can get to a point where forgiveness for larger things becomes a bigger part of life. So, you know, one of the interesting things that I marked from the two messages that are part of what. Oh man, it's happening again. Sorry. The two messages that we read here today from Simon, I think, in Bordeaux, and Paul, the apostle. Um, they're really geared towards spiritists, or if you're reading the Gospel according to Spiritism, somebody who's really understanding that our long-term goal in eternity is to become perfect beings, is to become perfect, uh, um, you know, uh, um, perfect, if you will, spirits, or spirits with no faults, right? And so their message is geared towards that kind of long-term goal, right? So in one of the messages, it says here, is just forgive your fellow men as you would wish that they forgive you. If their acts cause you personal harm, then this is just one more motive of your indulgence, right? It's just one more reason why you should be, you know, um, forgiving to them. And then it says, since the merit of forgiveness is in the proportion to the seriousness of the wrongdoing. What is he saying here? He's saying, your the merits that you will get from forgiving will be, will be like that weight. It's like the more you have to forgive, the heavier the weight, the longer the marathon, the more you actually get back from doing that. So instead of looking at what you got to go through and say that's impossible. I can't forgive that person, or I will never, um, back away from my current feeling for this situation, that person, or whoever. It's really, wow, that's a really big one. I'm going to get something out of this if I really learn to forgive. And the reason for that, as is pointed out, is that of all of the ways that we can show love, that we can really exercise love, as in the sense of uh, the love that Jesus has talked to us about, or has really proposed. Um, Forgiveness as charity is just one expression of this love, right? And so when we look at I think it's in, I actually wrote it down here, I printed it out here in Matthew 5. Jesus, um, when he's talking about showing mercy, having forgiveness, he says, if you are offering your gift to the altar, right? So he's in the Sermon on the Mount, and he's saying, talking about how important forgiveness is. He says, if you are going to the altar to give the money, to deposit your donation, before you make that donation, if you think about a brother or a sister who you still have problems with, who you are yet to forgive, then leave the money there, or leave your offer there, um, and go back and reconcile with your brother or your sister before you do this, right? So Jesus clearly stating how much more important to God, much more important it is to us to free ourselves from the heavy weights of you know hate, or hatred, or unforgiveness, really. That he puts that in front, and as more important than anything we can do towards um, you know the church, or in that case the temple, um, because it's not what you're showing God, right? Essentially, right? That symbol of coming and bringing my donation to the temple is really me showing God, here, I've out of my work, here's what I'm giving, officially. And Jesus came to tell us, charity is more important, and alongside that, forgiveness. If I am working out, you know, um, just outside of me, and I'm helping others, of course it's helping other people. But if I'm doing charity, actually, that helps me, right, more than others. And forgiveness is even more so, right? So when when somebody when somebody just said something to me that hurt me, and then they went away, and they turned around and went away, they very likely, they're not even thinking about it anymore, because it's not that big of a deal, right? It might not be a big of a deal. They might not even know how much that actually hurt us, right? If I'm not forgiving them, if I keep carrying the weight of uh, of that hate for that person, that continuously, every day, weighs me down. Continuously, that makes me weaker, right? It's like me not working, not going to the gym, right? Now, anybody who's gone to the gym, anybody who's done any sort of exercise, we realize that if you stop going, what happens, right? Your muscles aren't stop being strong. You end up losing some of that body mass. Same thing with running. You start feeling more tired sooner, right? Because you're not exercising. Same thing here. If I'm not forgiving, if I'm letting that be a part of my everyday, then I am then it's really hurting me on on a mental level, on a mental health level, and a real health level. that I am not able to get rid of that weight out of my shoulders, right? And that very quite literally can be detrimental to us, because not only mentally but physically as well, right? If I am harboring hate for someone, if I just keep that in my heart all the time, what's going to happen? My heart's going to be beating faster. It's going to have higher blood pressure, which as we know, just creates all sorts of physical ailments to us. And the more involved we are in that process of not of really thinking about something hateful, the more that it actually comes back to us. So what we learn then, and there's scientific evidence of that, right? These days, I mean, there have been lots of papers published about the power of forgiving somebody's of forgiving and becoming healthier after that. So, what do we conclude from that? Forgiving, then, is not just for me. I mean, it's not just for the other, right? Sometimes we think, well, I will never forgive that person. That person is awful. I will not forgive them. And we think that we're punishing them by not forgiving them, right? Or we may think that they will be worse because I'm not forgiving them. And yet, the person who's wasting the most energy and the person who's actually causing the most harm to themselves is me for not considering what that hatred is doing to me. And so one uh, way to look at forgiveness, and one of the most important ways to look at it is the way that I free myself that from that hatred that I am harboring against that person, or of any guilt that I may have because of that of what might have happened. So forgiving them is not about that person. It's important when we think about ourselves as Christians, as Spiritists. It's important for us to think about the part of the message that says, you got to love each other, love one another, right? That's important, and that's key to Christian love. However, excuse me, it doesn't even have to be about love, right? It's about freeing myself, right? It's about making myself free from the hatred for another person. Now, going from that to loving that person, of course, that's the next step, right? As Jesus said, when if you have an issue with your brother or your sister, go right. What does he say? Um, Go and reconcile with them, and then you come back with your offer to God, right? Your offer to the temple here, because um, what you realize is if you don't do that, you're not free, right? And if I'm not free, how can I be trying to pray or trying to think of ways that I can become better if I'm not freeing myself from my own feelings towards somebody else, right? So, I- um, hence, um, love and forgiveness go hand in hand. And if we break the word, if we think about the shape of how the word is formed, right? It's true, and it's true in it's how the word is formed both in English, but in Roman languages as well, Romance languages as well. It really means that it is for giving, right? Love is for giving, right? It is something that I am giving to the other, and as I give that, I am free from from the weight of what can come holding on to any poor, ill thoughts or misgivings towards those who caused any issue. So, forgiveness is both a test of our capacity to love, is how Almeida puts it. And I thought that was very, very interesting. If we are true Christians, if we are truly trying to make ourselves better um, in this life, but in general, then we need to exercise our capacity to love. And our capacity to love um, can be shown by giving love. So, love, forgiving love is really the greatest expression of our capacity to love. So, I thought that was pretty poetic and pretty. So, I wanted to bring that um, to everyone here. So, then we come to we've been talking about forgiving others, right? And but as we really start to dive into um, our relationship with the world, our relationship with the universe and those around us, but more importantly, our relationship to ourselves, we realize there's a lot that we need to forgive ourselves for, right? And that's actually even more difficult to work on because, we in that message where Jesus says, go and reconcile with that person. It says, do that before they give you to the judge, right? And then the judge gives you to the police, who will hand you over to the officer, and then you will be thrown into prison, right? Um, what does Jesus want to say when he says, if you don't forgive them, and then they take you to the judge, and then the judge gives you to the officer, who then puts you in prison? What prison is he talking about? What judge is he talking about? And that's when we come to realize that the metaphor that Jesus is using here is of our own conscience, right? How many times have we heard of stories of people who have spent a lifetime hating a family member or somebody who broke their heart at some point early in their lives, and then they spend the rest of their lives thinking, uh, um, about how much they hate that person, and then and eventually they're working on trying to understand, or trying to make amends, and to forgive that person and to get close to that person again. And all of a sudden that person goes and dies, has a car crash or something, or catches some sort of disease and just dies. And you know and then you're left behind with another few decades to live and think about how unimportant it was, whatever they did to you. And now that you've lost your opportunity to reconcile with that person in this life. And so, excuse me. um, so that's and that's what Jesus is telling us, and basically warning us is if you don't reconcile with that person, if you're not you know correcting those issues, those things before you come here to the temple and do your prayer and make your donation, it might be too late, because maybe they'll die, maybe they'll move away, and you will stay in that condition that you've never reconciled with that person. And the judge will eventually be your conscience, and your conscience is going to be very hard on yourself, right? As we learn, as we work through our growth, as we work through our life in this world, we we start to understand that knowing ourselves, and that recognizing our problems, our misgivings, is the only way to really, is the first step in making ourselves better. Now, if the first step is that, and then now I realize that I've wasted all this time in reconciling with, whoever it may be, maybe a family member, maybe somebody who was important to me someday, and you know, imagine the prison that I'm going to put myself in, right? Because I've wasted that time, because I never really took that extra few minutes or hours or days and really worked on how am I going to reconcile with that person? How am I going to go from this hatred that I have to transforming that relationship back into a positive relationship. And if I don't work on that, I will be in that prison, because the judge, I can't run away from the judge. The judge is not God that's going to come and just tell me this is how it is. The judge is going to be my own conscience saying, I made a mistake and now I can't even fix that. Right. So uh, forgiving oneself for something like that is extremely hard, right? Because how many times we uh, um, have to, or in how many ways are we going to have to think about that wasted time, and really look at ourselves and say, now I forgive myself for that. What am I going to do to make up for all that wasted time, right? And obviously, the the opportunities that we have to do good um, on our growth, right? To improve ourselves are limited, especially in this life, right? There's only so much time. So, um, the proposal, or the suggestion that the spirits are giving us here is that there is no time like right now to start thinking about when, who is that the person that I need to go back to today, that maybe I left something unfinished with them. Can I forgive them, right? And can I work on the hatred that I have towards them, or can I work on all of these just bad feelings that I have, um, and take that and turn it into something positive, and then you know and then we'll be better off for it in the end. Now, how do we do that, though? I mean, if I know myself, and if I know that I hate, that I'm having trouble with that person, the last thing I may want to do is actually go directly with that person right away, right? If I don't know how they're going to react, if I don't even know how I'm going to react, then maybe I could take some time and find a friend, find somebody, maybe somebody who doesn't know me all that well, and I can and take the courage to go to them and say, here's a problem that I have, and I don't know what to do. Can I even talk about it with you, right? Find a somebody who you can exercise that idea of saying, have that person be receptive to what you're saying, so that they can give you some feedback and say, look, maybe the person who did something to you, they're coming from a completely different way of seeing life, right? Maybe they're a different culture, or maybe they just, they uh, don't have the understanding of the world, or haven't walked through your shoes, on your shoes, right? We forget that a lot. Sometimes we have trouble with other people because we think they can think like us, right? In many ways. And so there's nothing there's really no way that I can walk somebody's mile. There's really no way that I can drink their water, right? They need water. I need water to survive. I need to eat. I can't eat for somebody who's not eating, right? I can't eat. I can't drink the water for the person who's not drinking water. And so, so we know that that's true. Then when they're saying something to us, we have to try to understand that they have a different filter, that they're looking from a different window, that they're inside, a completely different experience in their lives that, has given them the idea that whatever they did to us is okay, or, that what they did to us is what they think we deserve. And so we need to really, in order to understand the other, we can't really walk in their shoes, but we need to try to at least understand where they're coming from, right? And sometimes doing that directly is impossible, right? Sometimes there's just the disconnect is just too large. And maybe there's a friend, maybe there's somebody at the Spiritist Center, maybe there's somebody at a church or whatever that you can talk to and say, let's think of ideas of how I can feel this, not so strongly, and how I can diffuse my emotions so that one day I can actually talk to that person and um, make up for all the time that we've wasted, right? And so um, there are many things that we can do to try to go work on those things, but there are small there are small um, misgivings that have happened to us that we haven't forgiven yet. So we can start smaller, right? Again, that's why I like the idea of the forgiving muscles and going to the forgiving gym, right? We need to keep working at it from small to large, um, you know. And if we think about, as the message said here, the bigger the problem, or the bigger the serious, the more serious the wrongdoing that was to me, the more merit I'm getting, right? So the more I the harder the it was to me, the more um, I will benefit from it once it's not no longer an issue, right? Once I have um, uh, really freed myself from that feeling and forgave the person. Now, obviously, if the other person is angry with you or hates you for the same reason, right? I mean, often when somebody does something to us that's really hurtful, I, you know, most often they're also feeling something very hurtful on their end, and a big part of what we are trying to do when working on forgiveness is trying to free ourselves from the feelings that we're harboring towards that person. But it's nice to also be able to see that they that they are getting closer to us as well. So working working and trying to find ways to really express that feeling uh, that we are freeing ourselves is important. So, um, how can we do that, right? A lot of the messages that we read, a lot of the work that we do in trying to find ourselves and better ourselves within Spiritism is really about recognizing one's mistakes. And so the more I can look at myself and not look at us with judging ourselves, right? We tend to judge ourselves a lot. We tend to be very hard on ourselves once we start really doing that self inner look. um, it's important that we take that opportunity to really be truthful to ourselves, but not um, not necessarily hard on ourselves, right? It's important that we understand what we need to work on. It's important that I understand that my misgivings with my family member who broke my heart earlier in my life, that I need to work on that. And it's more important that I recognize that and work on it at it than it is for me to look at it and say, wow, I'm just a bad person. Look at how I'm never going to be able to recover from that. Right. Because, it is important for us to forgive ourselves. Right. It's the worst, the worst offender against ourselves is always going to be us. Right. So when somebody offends me, they can only offend me if I let myself be offended. So it can't be about it can't be about just you know um, the offenses that others do to me. If I don't let myself be offended, then there isn't a lot to forgive. There isn't a lot to be concerned about, because um, you know it just doesn't touch me. It just doesn't make it's not a big deal to me, right? But the more I let whatever somebody does to me affect me, the more it is my fault or my misgiving to really take that as hate, as just rancor in our lives. So, I'm a huge part of why I am actually the most important part of why I'm feeling hatred towards somebody, right? So if I need to forgive them, I really need to think about how much what I'm feeling is actually more because I let them do it to me versus that they really did it to me. And so, again, the Spiritist message keeps coming back to us, to understanding ourselves, to really exercise our capacity to love, right? It's the understanding that love, um, the love that Jesus has asked of us, the love that He brought in God's message to us, is this capacity, this ability for us to give it to others. So taking love, forgiving, and giving to others, so that we can free ourselves and you know be better. So I think that's all I had prepared for today. Instead of just extending it over too much, I wanted to thank everyone for being here. Forgive me for any mistakes. Forgive me for if I was a little bit repetitive, but I will forgive myself for not finishing at 8, I guess. So, but thank you, everyone, and God bless us all.
So with this, it's our time here for us to finish, and I don't know if we're gonna have passes there. Did you take passes already? Did you guys take passes? Okay, so let's do our final prayer, and after that, I'm gonna talk to Chris and see what we're gonna do. So we'd like to with this talk about forgiveness and knowing that we all have our own mistakes and our own issues and our own problems. We would like to raise our thoughts, open our hearts and our minds to our dear friend Jesus, so that as He taught us that we should forgive for us to be forgiven, and knowing that we are all striving to do our best, we would like to ask Him and ask our dear Father to look at us, to look at our issues, to look at our problems, and with compassion give to us the blessings of hope, the blessing of the perseverance that we all should have, and also the blessing of forgiveness, allowing us to see how much we need them for our own lives and how much their love for us sustain us and sometimes carry us along. So, dear friend Jesus, may these blessings that we know are all around us find us wherever we are and help us keep going, striving to do our best, spreading your love wherever we go, be it through our words, through our thoughts, but most importantly, help us help others. Help us raise our hands, open up our shoulders, so that our friends and those who are around us can finally find you in our hearts, in our actions, in our words. May these blessings of love and of healing be carried by us to our families, to our friends, and may your love embrace us all tonight, tomorrow, and forever, as long as we are alive and following your teachings, the teachings of God, the teachings of love. May your love be with us now and always. So be it. So with this, I'd like to. So we're done. So with this, we are. I don't. Hendrick, did you close there? Can you? Okay. So we every week. Well, on Mondays, on the second Monday, we always have this meeting in English. And we transmit this meeting in English to the internet too. The Portuguese ones don't go to the internet on Mondays, but they always go online. We always go online on Saturday nights. So on Saturday nights from 7 to 8:30, we are always live with our meetings in Portuguese. So if you don't come, if you want to watch a public talk in Portuguese on Saturday nights, we have this talk, and on once a month we have this talk in English. And for those who are watching or will watch, um, in our on our channel on Facebook, right, we have all the talks in English that we were when we started recording, following the order of the Gospel according to Spiritism. So if you want to watch, say, uh, um, something about chapter 8, so you can go there and then you find the talk about chapter 8, chapter 7, 6. So we're going to 10. One day we will finish on 27. Maybe we will come back, but we have all the talks in English. So it's good if we have someone that wants to know the gospel according to Spiritism a little more. Every we have many good lectures about them. Next month, in March, we're going to have here Flavio Zanetti. So Flavio will be here. He will be talk to us. He will be here talking to us on, I think it's March 9th, I think. But it's the second Monday of March, so he will be here. And then we will continue going with the Gospel according to Spiritism. Um, but I think that's it for tonight. We are still finishing the passes there, but I hope that we can see each other maybe Saturday, maybe next Monday. Next Monday will be in Portuguese, and we will be back here soon. Okay, so thank you very much. Have a good night, and happy